Jason O'Brien, you need to unmute. So I'm looking for your, did he tell you, is he off dealing with his other case?
He just got the verdict in, and he's coming on right now, I believe.
All right, Mr. Johnson, you with us?
Oh, hello, Your Honor. Yes, I am.
Okay, so we'll take your matter up now. Then if Brooke O'Brien would, you are there. Jason O'Brien, we have you. And now we have Mr. Johnson, who's representing Mr. O'Brien. And 2532 is our case. You don't have to stay there, Ms. Paris, if you don't want. And let me get the documents up before me. As you see, I'm going to be looking back and forth as I've got an electronic file, and I am listening, but looking at what's been filed. Thank you. So let me put Ms. O'Brien, have you raise your right hand. Brooke O'Brien, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right. And then Jason O'Brien, raise your right hand with me. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So I'm going to start out here. I've had an opportunity, as I said, to review. There's lots of information provided on all sides. And Mr. Johnson is representing Mr. O'Brien, and he's going to have the opportunity to ask questions of Ms. O'Brien and to present the case for Mr. O'Brien. So first off, Ms. O'Brien, then as I said, I've looked at everything, and let me just kind of open something up here again so I have it before me. There it is. Before I allow Mr. Johnson to ask any questions, what would you like to say that you haven't already put into evidence, or something you want to focus in on? Or
Your Honor, I'm just here again today to request a 1-year protection order, sadly, against my father. My father's harassed and threatened and sabotaged a lot of things regarding a DV situation as well. That was submitted as well, that he bailed out my husband in a DV situation. The mental and verbal abuse has continued into my adulthood. As I've submitted that as well. I've endured this behavior for far too long, which is why I'm here today. My father's lied in his declaration about his Facebook accounts. I've proved that in exhibits that he's perjured himself. He's used multiple Facebook accounts to harass and
you're referring to your second petition, your second response? Is that what you're referring to, those exhibits?
Well, I wasn't allowed to respond to any other exhibits prior last court date.
I have the second declaration of petitioner.
Then yes, then that was submitted.
Okay.
That is what I'm talking
those
about.
Pictures that are appended to that, is that what you're talking about, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And then on top of this, he's used those accounts for years. My father's sister, Natasha, also lied in her declaration by falsely stating that I obtained and shared content without her knowledge or permission. These were messages clearly Natasha sent to me by herself, also proven in the exhibits I provided. Natasha's no longer here with us as she has passed away. So having her to deal with this on her deathbed is quite concerning in general for her to write anything as she was medicated on morphine to pass peacefully. I believe my request for protection rises to a level of unlawful harassment, and I believe my father needs to be accountable for his behaviors that he is all of his witnesses attested to in their declarations. I believe he also, the only way that this will stop and this behavior will stop progressively will be because of legal repercussions.
Before we even get into the courtroom audio, let's slow this down for a second, because what you're about to hear is not your average protection order case. On paper, it looks simple. A daughter asking the court for a 1-year protection order against her own father. But once you start peeling back the layers, this turns into something way messier, way darker, and honestly way more uncomfortable than most cases we covered. We've got family ties crossing legal boundaries, a domestic violence arrest involving an ex-husband who also happens to be a first cousin, allegations of harassment through fake Facebook accounts, claims of perjury, and a father who allegedly bailed out the very man accused of harming his own daughter. And right away you can already feel the tension, not just between the parties but inside the courtroom itself. The judge has to balance emotion with law. The attorney is looking for contradictions. And the petitioner is trying to convince the court that this isn't just family drama, It's unlawful harassment rising to the level of legal protection. So as you watch this, pay attention to the small things. The way questions get dodged, the way money becomes leverage, and how quickly a protection order case can turn into a full-blown family autopsy. Because what starts as no contact quickly becomes who's telling the truth and who's rewriting history.
Thank you for your time.
So you're asking for an order that would do what? What would you want?
Protect me from all the things that I've submitted to the courts, ma'am.
So what does that mean? No contact of any kind with your father, not allow him to contact you through family, through friends, through social media, to stay
Correct.
away from you, a geographical distance.
Yes.
Just looking at your petition here to be clear what you're asking for. Let's see. You said no harm to you, no contact with you, no stalking. Stay 1,000 feet away from your person, your residence, school or daycare. I didn't see any kid. Yes, of the
Okay, her name's Grace
child.
Novak, and yes, I want her involved as well for a year.
And all right, so all of those things you asked in your petition, that's what you're asking for.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Let me just kind of review again to see if I have any particular question. Well, Mr. Johnson, why don't you go ahead? Do you have any questions of Ms. O'Brien?
Yes, Ms. O'Brien, isn't it true that you received financial assistance from your husband as recently as January?
How is my husband allowed or even able to give me financial assistance?
Not your husband. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Your father. Your father provided financial assistance to you and your husband as recently as January, true?
Since January, because we worked for him in his construction company, yes. But that was also paid wages that were earned.
So those Venmo transactions, $400 here, $50.
Which are directed
cetera,
towards Destin Kendrick, and as well as the money that's obtained by my father for work has nothing to do with the harassment. So let's move on from that.
Well, I think it's telling. You were asking your father for money repeatedly as recently as a week before filing this order. Isn't that true?
That's untrue, actually.
Well, we have the.
Yeah, a week prior to my domestic violence situation, so not technically the restraining order.
Okay, but your father was Venmoing you money, Venmoing your husband at your request, true?
Untrue. It was for paid wages that were worked on his job site.
I see. And so the paid wages were in irregular increments, like $400 here, $50 there,
My
another
financial
$75.
situations are none of your concern, actually.
So, Ms. O'Brien, let the question be finished and then answer it as best you can. So, Mr. Johnson, want to rephrase the question, and then Ms. O'Brien, then you answer the question.
It was pretty straightforward the first time, Your Honor.
I want to hear it because they were talking over each other. So, Mr. Johnson, what's the question again?
Thank you. So it's your contention here today that each and every time that Mr. O'Brien was Venmoing and sending cash money to you and your husband, it was strictly in compensation for wages.
Correct, and it's an ex-husband, thank you.
Okay. And so over the course of the previous, and that was the last transaction was about a week before you filed this restraining order, isn't that true?
To Destin Kendrick, yes.
Okay. And that was while the two of you were still together prior to the domestic violence situation.
Yes.
And the domestic violence situation that you're referring to throughout is Justin and yourself. Isn't that right?
I'm sorry,
Yes,
I couldn't hear that,
yes.
Mr. Johnson. What was the question?
The domestic violence situation that you've referred to numerous occasions is the domestic violence situation involving your husband and you, true?
Yes, if you read the declarations, that would be true.
And Mr. O'Brien, my client, the respondent, was not present during any domestic violence situation between you and your husband that Mr. Kendrick, your husband, was arrested for. True?
Yes, true. It was midnight. I don't think anyone
Okay.
should be at my house at midnight, but yes.
Got it. So at midnight, you and your husband get into some sort of a domestic violence
Let's pause for a
situation.
second.
Right here is where things start getting strategic. The judge gives Miss O'Brien the floor before cross-examination, and instead of focusing on one clean legal issue, she unloads everything at once. Harassment, Facebook accounts, perjury, her aunt's declarations, emotional abuse, and even her father's alleged behavior during her adulthood. That's emotionally powerful but legally risky. Courts don't issue protection orders because someone feels mistreated. They issue them when there's clear, recent, unlawful conduct. So while she's explaining how long this behavior has gone on, the judge is already filtering. What's actionable? What's provable? What's relevant today? You can also hear how carefully the judge frames it. She acknowledges the seriousness, but reminds everyone that a protection order deprives someone of rights. That means the bar is higher than, "I don't like what he posts online." There has to be real harassment, threats, stalking, or fear of harm. This moment matters because it sets the battlefield. Emotional storytelling meets legal standards, and not all stories survive that filter.
Ms. O'Brien, you need a what? What are you asking for?
To get into details about the domestic violence is pretty triggering for me, and that's not to be discussed under what is here today. It's harassment. So I don't like to discuss further into my domestic violence situation. Besides that, this is added up to my dad bailing him out of jail. That is the only
You're saying
parts of that.
that it's not relevant for Mr. Johnson to ask about what happened between you and Dustin Kendrick.
Yes, it's none of his concern nor his
Okay.
business.
Well, a lot of things start to open up when we come to court, but I'm going to turn to Mr. Johnson about that. Mr. Johnson, maybe you can tell me where you're headed so I can make a decision about that objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I think I have the answers that I was looking for already, so I can move to the next series of
All right.
questions.
Okay.
Thank you. So your husband is your direct first cousin, isn't that true?
If that's what it states in the thing and what he wanted to pursue, yeah. If that's what you guys...
He's the son of Mr. O'Brien's sister, isn't that right?
Yes.
Now watch how fast the case pivots from emotions to money. As soon as the attorney starts asking about Venmo payments, you can almost feel the tone change. Financial ties are dangerous in protection order cases because they suggest ongoing contact, cooperation, and dependency. And dependency directly contradicts fear. If someone is truly afraid of another person, courts ask, why were you still accepting money? Why were you still communicating? Why were transactions happening right before you filed? Those questions don't erase abuse, but they absolutely affect credibility. Miss O'Brien tries to frame the payments as wages, not help. And that distinction matters. If it's earned income, it looks professional. If it's assistance, it looks personal. The attorney is clearly trying to show inconsistency, asking for protection while still requesting money days earlier. This is courtroom chess. Nobody's yelling yet, but every Venmo transaction becomes a silent witness. And sometimes money speaks louder than testimony.
Mr. O'Brien's sister was dying of brain cancer throughout this situation. True?
Lung cancer.
Lung cancer.
Lung cancer, I'm sorry.
That's kind of disregarding and sad that you guys couldn't get that right. Rest in peace, Natasha.
Yes, may she rest in peace. It was lung cancer. I apologize. So she was dying of lung cancer.
Correct.
And let me back up a second. So by your own testimony, you were working for your father. You were in a relationship, father-daughter relationship with your father, up to the point that you and your husband get involved in a domestic violence situation at midnight. Is that right?
Yes, but it's also pursued into my dad as a pattern behavior that this has not happened just more than once, which has been submitted as well in my declarations.
Got it. So you were very upset that you found out through a third party planning to bail your husband, your cousin, his nephew out of jail. True?
Wouldn't you be upset if your father didn't believe that's in court record that happened and he decided to bail someone out in regards of strangulation his own daughter and putting his hands on me? I think anybody would be upset regarding that.
Ms. O'Brien, this is a difficult situation for everyone. Asking the attorneys questions or what they would feel is not relevant. I'll ask you to answer questions that you can. All right, so
Which I am doing my best
make
to
extra
do.
comments. Don't ask questions of the attorney and how they would feel about something. Simply answer the question that they posed. So, Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Honor. Mr. Bryan, it's also possible that your father wanted to give his dying sister the gift of having face-to-face contact with her son before she passed. True?
I wasn't knowledgeable about that, so that's really for him to
speculation,
decide.
Mr. Johnson. I don't require Ms. O'Brien to answer
called a guilt
a
trip.
question that she has to divine what another person is thinking.
Okay.
So you don't have to answer that question.
Fair enough. So the reason I ask you that, Ms. O'Brien, is because it sounds like you're speculating on what your father's reason is for bailing your husband, cousin out of jail.
So what would you like me to respond to that?
True or false?
Yeah, I'm very angry that he did that because I'm his daughter.
This is where courtroom control becomes important. Everyone starts talking over each other, emotions creep in, and the judge has to slow things down. That's not just for politeness, it's for the record. Judges need clean, direct answers, not commentary, not sarcasm, not side arguments. Miss O'Brien keeps trying to explain the meaning behind situations, while the attorney is focused on structure. Dates, payments, timing, and consistency. And you can hear the clash of styles, emotional truth versus legal truth. They're not always the same thing in court. When the judge tells her to let the question finish and answer it directly, that's a subtle warning. Courts reward clarity, not defensiveness. The more someone argues instead of answers, the more it looks like they're protecting a narrative instead of facts. At this point, the case stops being about Facebook harassment and starts becoming about credibility. And credibility is everything in protection order hearings.
You speculated as to what his intention was in bailing his nephew out of jail.
So yes, let me respond to that. Yes. His intentions were not pure. I've received text. Please don't interrupt me. I've received text from Natasha, it's being sent to me that he wishes I was dead and hung, and that he wishes I was stoned to death and beaten to death. And I think that's sufficient enough to why we're here today, of why I don't want any contact with my own father, because as a mother of myself, I would never say anything about my children that way. So let's touch there.
Ms. O'Brien, you included the third-party text that you received in your original petition.
Third-party text in regarding to what?
What you just stated, that he had said some ugly things.
Yes. So why is that acceptable for anybody to tell that to anybody?
Ma'am, you included those texts.
Yes, I did.
That you received somehow from third parties in your original petition, isn't that right?
I received them because she sent them to me.
You included them in your in your request for a temporary order, true?
True.
And you were denied that temporary order, weren't you?
This got continued. It wasn't denied, it was continued.
No, you were denied.
I don't think we have to parse that. We're at the hearing to determine if an order will be issued. And so I do see that is part of the evidence, and we're going to talk about it all. So, Mr. Johnson, why don't you move forward from what happened about whether a temporary order was issued or not, and let's get to the meat of this, whether the court should or shouldn't issue this order.
So, so it is accurate that you received tens of thousands of dollars of financial support from your husband in the year leading
Father.
up to you requesting this order, or from your
Father.
Negative.
thanks.
Tens and thousands of dollars seems pretty absurd to me.
Okay. Received.
So once you get those numbers, maybe you can put that
you
on
received-
paper.
Look, this isn't an argument.
It's not an
Yeah.
argument, but we
This
are
is-
here in court today to
So, Ms.
decipher
O'Brien,
what's
just
going on.
slow down, Mr. Johnson, slow down. So, Mr. Johnson asked if you received tens of thousands of
No.
dollars from your father, and what is your answer?
False. No.
Okay, so Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. But we've provided to the court the specific transactions for just 1 month, and it totals $2,850. You saw that, correct?
Correct. And that's not, it's for paid wages.
So
No, let me talk if you want an answer, please.
All right.
It's for
it was a yes or no question, ma'am. It was a yes or no question. Here's the next question.
wonderful.
You're claiming that you worked for your father. Can you tell me what job you did working for your father?
It's under IQ construction and he doesn't actually have workman's comp. So it was to help him do dump runs. So he didn't have to hire somebody to do so.
So it's your contention that you
And this isn't
did-
about money. This is about the harassment.
Things take a hard left turn here. We go from harassment allegations straight into the family tree, and not in a good way. When the attorney establishes that her husband is also her first cousin, the courtroom energy shifts immediately. Not because it's dramatic for YouTube, but because it exposes how entangled this family really is. Now suddenly the protection order isn't just between a father and daughter, it's wrapped around forbidden relationships, criminal law, and a dying family member in the middle of it all. The attorney even cites Washington statute, which tells the court this isn't gossip. It's legal relevance that at the same time, you hear emotion bleeding into logic. Miss O'Brien reacts defensively, sarcastically, emotionally. That's human, but in court it can backfire. Judges don't decide cases based on shock. They decide based on risk, behavior, and law. This is where the story stops feeling like a dispute and starts feeling like a collapse of boundaries, emotional, legal, and moral, all at once.